Hey everyone, in today's session we're going to cover MID configurations. MID is the account you receive from the acquiring bank or the alternative payment method provider. In essence, the username password you are required to send as part of the integration that you send transactions to. To start with, we'll go to Accounts, Debit Companies, MID Configuration. It will show you a list of all the available MIDs you've currently configured on the platform. Some will be test MIDs, some will be live MIDs. The differentiation on which one to choose can be done afterwards under the Merchant Settings Terminal tab. So to start with, we'll go to Quick Add, which will show us a list of all the available debit companies integrations that we have in the system. We can choose checkout.com and click Continue for the next step. Next step will allow us to configure the credentials that we need in order to communicate with the checkout.com. So we can set up a name, my checkout MID, descriptor. In case it's a dynamic descriptor supported in the integration, you can add the descriptor, my transaction, merchant identifier, which you will see from checkout, access name 1 and 2, depending on the parameter you get from them, and the hash required for the transaction. In terms of the configuration itself, you're done, but there are additional steps that we can configure in order to better route the transaction. Does the MID support 3D Secure? Is it owned by Gateway? I mean, is it your MID or it's a merchant-related MID? And if it's indeed a test account. So if it's a test account, we'll send it to the test URL, and if it's not a test, meaning a live MID, we'll send it to the production URL by the provider. Scrolling down, we'll see the ability to set the daily volume limit for this MID, the monthly limit, and minimum amount allowed per transaction, and the maximum amount allowed per transaction. Once we're done, simply click Create Terminal, and this will create the MID in the system. And we can, of course, go finalize and save the MID as it was configured. Beyond that, you can, of course, open the MID itself and go to additional configuration on the MID level, such as risk rules to be applied, as we showed in the previous video. So we can apply a template that sets the limits and what is allowed and not allowed on the MID, or configure specifically for this MID alone. We can set the buy rates for the MID, so you will always know in the system financially how much the transaction costs you and how much you're selling that transaction to the merchant, and so on. Thank you very much for listening to the MID configuration section. You can check out other videos to see how we configure transaction routing, risk rules, and such. Thank you very much.